Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's top stories. Tech company Nvidia now boasts a $1 trillion market value, joining only 4 other U.S. companies. We'll have more on their economic rise. 5 California teens have been arrested for allegedly assaulting 3 Marines. The incident took place over the Memorial Day weekend. An ancient artifact was discovered on a California beach recently. Then it was lost and then found again. We have some big news. Tech company Nvidia has officially joined an elite club of U.S. companies boasting a $1 trillion market value. The chip maker is one of the biggest winners of the recent AI boom. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the stock's meteoric rise.
Nvidia's stock value has tripled in less than 8 months, an increase that reflects surging interest in artificial intelligence.
$1 trillion all by itself is sort of an arbitrary, line in the sand. But it's hard to say that it's not deserved. Artificial intelligence and accelerated computing is a trend that has been building for a while.
The boom follows rapid advances in generative AI. The new technology can engage in human-like conversation. It can even craft jokes and poetry.
I think we finally hit an inflection point where it's becoming increasingly clear that there is a real use case for this technology, and not just, even in large enterprises and in the cloud, but I mean with the advent of ChatGPT and generative AI and large language models.
Nvidia's stock price has increased roughly 240% since October, far outpacing any other member of the S&P 500 index.
I think it's a surprise, but not a surprise. I think that the paradigm of compute is changing. They have a monopoly, at least today, in terms of accelerated compute. And with generative AI and large language models, it's unleashed the power, of accelerated compute. And
the AI boom has propelled Nvidia's value past its peers, since the company supplies both hardware and software for AI. For now, they're on top.
Right. I mean, clearly, NVIDIA, at least for now, is capturing the lion's share of the opportunity. They're the ones that are there, as I said before, with not just the semiconductors and the parts, but the entire ecosystem that's making it work.
NVIDIA shares closed up about 3% on Tuesday. Just 4 other U.S. companies are currently worth more than $1 trillion. Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, and Amazon. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
In Southern California, 5 teenagers have just been arrested for allegedly assaulting some Marines. They were among a large group of teens who were caught on video. And just a warning, the footage you're about to watch may be disturbing to some viewers.
According to the Orange County Sheriff's Department, 5 juveniles have been arrested on Tuesday for allegedly assaulting 3 U.S. Marines during the Memorial Day weekend. Video footage, originally posted on the social media platform Nextdoor, shows a large group of juveniles beating the Marines, who were dressed in plain clothes on Friday night at San Clemente Pier. According to the Sheriff's Department spokesman, somewhere between 10 and 30 teenagers participated in the assault. The Marines can be seen lying in the fetal position on the ground, getting kicked. After a while, a woman can be heard shouting, "Stop! What are you doing?" Deputies found 2 male Marines who were injured, but both declined to go to the hospital. During the investigation, they learned of the 3rd Marine who was also assaulted. 4 males and 1 female believed to be involved were booked into the Orange County Juvenile Hall for assault with a deadly weapon. One of the Marines told CBS 2 that the crowd was setting off firecrackers, and when some of the debris hit him in the face, he asked the group to move on. One of the teens then took a swing at the back of the victim's head, and the Marine turned around and charged at his attacker, which set off the crowd. No additional information was released, and the investigation is ongoing. Those who have information that can help investigators can contact the Orange County Sheriff's Department at 949-425-1956.
For most of the year, California's quest to rid itself of fossil fuels seemed on track. Electric cars populate highways, while energy from wind, solar, and water provides much of the power for homes and businesses. But when it gets hot and everyone turns on their air conditioners at the same time, there is not always enough power to go around. Now the governor is thinking about buying energy.
Governor Gavin Newsom is thinking about buying massive amounts of renewable energy to help keep the lights on. The idea is to use the state's purchasing power to convince private companies to build large-scale power plants that run off of heat from underground sites and strong winds blowing off the coast, the kinds of power that utility companies have not been buying because it's too expensive and would take too long to build. In a news conference last week, Newsom said the state has laid out a 10-year pathway for the transmission grid.
And we've identified 45 projects, $7.3 billion of investments to just transform our electrical grid. We laid out the markers on solar and wind, but we recognize that's not going to get us where we need to go. The issue of reliability has to be addressed.
The Democratic governor insists California will be carbon neutral by 2045. But this goal is often questioned in the summer when, to avoid rolling blackouts, state officials turn on massive diesel-powered generators to make up the state's energy shortfall. In addition, the governor banned the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035. According to the California Independent Systems Operator, which manages the state's power grid, the state will need to add about 40 gigawatts of new power over the next 10 years. 1 gigawatt is enough to power about 750,000 homes. This would be a big change for California, where up to now, utility companies have been responsible for buying their own power. Customers would have to pay for the new power the state buys through a new, still undetermined charge for their electric bills. The proposal is pending in the legislature. If approved, the next step is getting the permits and building the turbines and the infrastructure necessary to transport the power to the grid.
Now this next story has some teeth behind it. On Tuesday, a museum in California's Santa Cruz got their hands on an ancient Mastodon tooth. After a frantic weekend search, in the end, someone jogging on the beach found it and donated it. NTD's David Lam has the story.
That's awesome.
Thanks to a stroke of luck and humanitarian deed, the mystery of the missing Mastodon tooth in Monterey Bay has been solved after a frantic search and social media outreach.
I was just so happy that we'd come to a conclusion, and it was all the conclusion that we wanted. A visitor to one of our local beaches saw an interesting object sticking out of the sand last Friday. Didn't know what it was, but she posted some pictures on Facebook.
The visitor stumbled upon the 1-foot-long tooth at Rio Del Mar Beach, but there was one major caveat.
When I took a look at it, I contacted the woman. I said, yeah, let's get together and take a look at this specimen. And she said, well, I left it at the beach. Oh, okay. So we went back to the beach, and unfortunately, by the time we got there, the specimen was missing.
Their team searched over Memorial Day weekend, but turns out beach jogger Jim Smith incidentally brought the strange object home and then donated the tooth on Tuesday.
Well, I thought it was nice that somebody found it and gave it back because, you know, they could have kept it if they wanted to because they knew it was valuable.
It's only the second known mastodon recorded from Santa Cruz County. And so studying this is an extremely important thing to get a window on the past of the Monterey Bay area.
The specimen is estimated to be 5,000 years old.
The ocean was up high up above the hills before, you know, 1 million years ago or whatever. So there's all kinds of fossils and stuff to be found.
It's very important because this is the final throes of the last ice age. So it's giving us a clear picture of what ancient Monterey Bay used to look like back at that time. A mastodon tooth has cusps on it. This is a plaster cast of just one cusp of a large mastodon tooth. And these are designed for grinding tree branches and leaves.
Mastodons are extinct elephant-type creatures related to woolly mammoths. Thompson hopes to study and understand how the climate has transformed since the Ice Age.
It was just a stroke of luck that the person who found it happened to be reading an article that was written about the tooth that everyone was looking for.
The tooth is now secured in the museum and toothache relieved. People can see the exhibit in the future after it's carefully preserved. David Lam, NTD News, California.
We'll take a short break now, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Pregnancy centers are asking for an apology from a state lawmaker. This comes after the Assemblywoman described these centers as a fake. Law enforcement say they have made over 200 arrests and seized thousands of pounds of fentanyl over the last 2 months. And Southern California's Long Beach is wrapping up National Bike Month celebrations. A 30-mile ride through the city marked the end of a successful and active month. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, David Zhang. Pregnancy centers are speaking out against accusations made by a Democratic lawmaker. The Assemblywoman depicted the clinics as the fake healthcare centers, and now these centers are asking for an apology.
The Santa Clarita Valley Pregnancy Center in Santa Clarita held a press conference on May 24th to call out pro-abortion Democratic Assemblywoman Pilar Schiavo.
Assemblymember Schiavo was wrong. We are not a fake clinic. Our medical professionals are not fakes. And yes, we're disappointed that our Assembly member would not have taken the time to meet us, to get to know us. We've served for 4 generations in this community. We've served for 4 generations in her district and continue to provide good services for free.
In April, during a presentation of Assembly Bill 710, Schiavo told members that these pregnancy centers intentionally mislead and lie to women about their reproductive health care options. She says, quote, "These clinics use deceptive practices targeted at vulnerable populations to draw them in by claiming they provide abortion services when they have no equipment or capacity to provide abortions. To be clear, they are not licensed medical clinics."
The new bills, AB 315 and especially AB 710, sadly are maligning and defaming the very good work that these centers do. This is one of the more than 150 pregnancy centers here, many of which are medically licensed, all of which provide unconditional support, love, and care to any woman who is facing an unplanned pregnancy.
According to a fact sheet distributed by Schiavo, AB 710 would launch a public information campaign through the California Department of Public Health to communicate facts about pregnancy care and abortion services. This is to ensure women seeking abortion know where to get medically accurate, comprehensive, and unbiased information.
This issue goes beyond just the issue of whether you are pro-life or pro-choice. This is an issue of care for women. And it's sadly an issue of what happens when this care for women gets politicized to the point that life-saving care is called misinformation, or it is called fake care.
The bill most likely won't be reconsidered this session, but some constituents are asking her to retract her statements and apologize.
That is the reason why we are so discouraged and so disappointed in Assemblymember Schiavo. We realize that she has a different political position on abortion than those of us that are here. But at bare minimum, we expect our elected officials to not lie about the work their constituents are doing. That is our largest request today, is that she would come see the work that is happening here at SCV Pregnancy Center, and that she would retract her statements about them not being a true and fully licensed medical center.
In response to the press conference, Schiavo told The Signal in a statement, quote, "Licensed or not, these crisis pregnancy centers are bringing women in by using misleading language about providing care when really they only offer ultrasounds to confirm a pregnancy, which then leads to misleading conversations about abortions and the woman's choices regardless of what's best for her and her family." Angela Bennett, president and CEO of the clinic, reached out to Schiavo to invite her to tour the center and learn about the services they provide, but a meeting has not yet been scheduled.
More than 200 arrests were made and over 4,700 pounds of fentanyl were seized over the past 2 months. Local law enforcement described this as an unprecedented increase.
San Diego law enforcement say over 200 arrests have been made in connection with a cumulative total of 4,700 pounds of fentanyl seized throughout April and May. These arrests were mainly linked to a campaign called Operation Blue Lotus. The operation centered on the southern border in the states of California and Arizona. San Diego U.S. Attorney Randy Grossman said in a statement, "We are an epicenter of fentanyl trafficking into the United States. We know the immense responsibility that we bear to address this crisis." His office said that around this time last year, law enforcement seized 732 pounds of fentanyl compared to 2,931 pounds this year. During the time Operation Blue Lotus was in effect, the U.S. Attorney's Office said there was a 30% increase in the number of defendants compared to last year. These operations are the latest law enforcement efforts in combating drug smuggling across the U.S.-Mexico border.
Also in Southern California, the Newport Beach Animal Shelter is finally open after years of fundraising. Around 1,500 donors contributed $2.5 million for its construction. Let's take a look.
After 6 years of fundraising and $2.5 million raised for its construction, the new Newport Beach Animal Shelter opened on May 26 to replace the city's old animal shelter. The shelter is a 1,600 square foot building with a 750 square foot kennel to house dogs, cats, and other animals. A city councilwoman told the Epic Times that this is the only street in Newport Beach zoned for animal shelters. The Newport Beach Animal Control will use the new facility for animal adoptions, veterinary services, animal control, dog licensing, wildlife management, and offer animal behavioral training. Christina Corona, NTD News, Newport Beach.
To wrap up the evening and month, the city of Long Beach is celebrating National Bike Month as an annual tradition. Throughout the month of May, the city encouraged the residents to get out and ride a bike through free community events. NTD joined one of their recent bike rides.
In Long Beach, National Bike Month celebrations wrapped up with a tour event on May 28th. A 30-mile city-led community bike ride led riders down the city's downtown beach streets. We spoke to Tony Cruz, a former professional road cyclist who now works at the city's Public Works Department.
And we have about 150 riders of all ages, skill levels, and abilities out with us today. We started at around 9 o'clock, and we expect to end, depending on the speed of each group, at about noon today. It's a free ride. Anyone's welcome to join. We're going to try and keep this as an annual event. And we start in Marina Greens down near the downtown of Long Beach, and then we take the LA River Path all the way up to Bixby Knolls area. Then we crowd across the city.
The ride passes by multiple parks and the beach, then loops back to Marina Greens. Cruz says he hopes the community bike ride will remain an annual event, in addition to all the other sports and outdoor activities the city is known for.
We have strong baseball, we have really strong aquatics. We also have some really good, strong cyclists and large clubs here as well. So it's kind of one of those cities where wherever you choose, whether it's the ocean, whether it's running, walking, biking, we have a lot to offer here, and I like to promote biking.
During the 30-mile tour, we met cyclists of all ages, kids and the elderly, including some pets, who all enjoyed a relaxing ride through the city.
Now let's check in with NTD's Carlos Reyes for our sports roundup.
This is your California Sports Roundup, and I'm Carlos Reyes. First up, Dodgers' Freddie Freeman hit a home run amongst his 4 hits. Tony Gonsolin went 6 strong innings, and Los Angeles earned a victory over visiting Washington. Jason Hayward and JJ Martinez also hit home runs, while Freeman extended his hitting streak to 19 games, the 3rd longest run of his career, as the Dodgers won for the 13th time in their last 14 home games. Gonsolin gave up 1 run on 3 hits with 2 walks and 2 strikeouts. Keibert Ruiz hit a home run for the Nationals, connecting against the team that traded him away in 2021. Meanwhile, right-hander Jake Irvin gave up 4 runs over 5 innings for Washington, which lost its 3rd consecutive game. Dodgers 9, Nationals 3. Xander Bogaerts with the San Diego Padres bounced the go-ahead RBI single in the top of the 9th inning as San Diego scored 5 in the final moments to defeat host Miami. Bogaerts' single deflected off the pitching hand of Marlins closer Dylan Floro and opened the floodgates for San Diego. Left fielder Juan Soto led the Padres by going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, 2 walks, 1 run, and 1 steal as San Diego ended Miami's 3-game winning streak. Teammate Matt Carpenter went 2 for 5 with 3 RBIs and 2 doubles. Brian De La Cruz had a big game out of the leadoff spot for Miami, going 3 for 4 with a home run, 3 RBIs, 2 runs scored, and 1 walk. Miami's Sandy Alcantara, the reigning National Cy Young Award winner, allowed 5 hits, 5 walks, and 4 runs in 6 innings. Padres 9, Marlins 4. Bob Myers can no longer put all of his energy into running the Golden State Warriors, and that's why he is ready to walk away. Considered as one of the most successful professional sports executives of all time. Myers is departing as Golden State's president of basketball operations and general manager after building a championship team from the ground up that captured 4 titles in an 8-year span and reached 5 straight NBA finals from 2015 to 2019. The 48-year-old grew up in suburban Danville, going to Warriors games for his birthday, played basketball at UCLA, and learned key skills on the other side of the business when he became an agent before switching careers and emerging as a top NBA executive. He did so with a personable nature and regularly attended practices to chat with players, staff, Steve Kerr, and his assistants. Myers has been known to talk to players during games, quite rare for a GM to do. After becoming GM in 2012, Myers constructed the roster that won the 2015 championship for the franchise's first title in 40 long years. And with having a pivotal role in building up a Bay Area dynasty, Myers will now look to appreciate the game from a different perspective. That is it for today's Sports Roundup. Thank you for watching. I'm Carlos Reyes.
Thanks, Carlos. And that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Ganjin World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.